Hi YouTubers, I just got back from a boot sale where I purchased this case, which is actually it's a record player. It's quite an interesting model. I haven't seen one like this before. I think they've been around since the 60s. The idea being that they look like a suitcase, but there's actually a record player inside. So it's got two clasps, one on either side. It has this rather nice sort of blue-grey top and bottom with a cream banding and a sort of, I guess it's a sort of fawn beigey sides to the suitcase, or the centre portion. It's a two-tone appearance. It's quite nice. It's got this plastic handle. It's quite dirty, needs a good clean. Anyway, when you lift this up, unclip it and lift this up, this is what you find inside. So in the back here you see this checkered effect. It's quite attractive, sort of yellow and grey and white kind of check pattern. It's almost like a wallpaper, which is basically what it is. It's like a pattern paper. And on the part where the platter and the Tonearm sit, you can see there's a kind of cotton, plasticky cotton, sort of almost like a speaker covering, which covers various slots in the woodwork, which you'll see in a minute. There's a platter here, which is operated by this switch. It's a 16, 33, 45 and 78, like the old school type of record player. What's interesting about this, which I haven't seen in others, is it has this N, which is like a neutral position, and what that does is it takes the flywheel, or the idler wheel, which is under here, and it disengages the contact from the inner rim of this platter, which enables you to take it off actually. Now you can see this doesn't have a platter mat. I don't know what happened to it. It wasn't on there when I purchased it. And we see here the idler wheel, and it's still quite flexible, so I think that will clean up quite well. And when I move this back into, you see how it sort of springs forward, and then it will adjust its way down the motor spindle as that's turning. So that gives you the 4 speeds, and then the N, which is the neutral, just pulls it back away. Things I noticed straight off the bat, that this is a bit wobbly, so I've got to find out. This is the spindle, and the top of the spindle rests on the bottom of this ball bearing, which is held in place by this sort of record spindle effectively. So they're both sort of sharing this surface, and this rotates around, I suppose, and sits on there. So that's how that thing is isolated. The motor itself is held in place by 3 nuts, which can come off, and the deck part of this is held in place by 4 screws, which I have actually taken out because I had to run a vacuum cleaner around the inside of this. It had a lot of cobwebs and things in it. The Tonearm itself just sits on this little plastic stay. This clip comes off. It's quite basic. And underneath, so you can see there the ceramic cartridge. I think that's quite a good one. I seem to recall having the same cartridge. It wasn't orange, I think it was a brown colour. It looked exactly the same as that, and you have 78 needle on one side, and you turn this around, and on the other side you have the 45-33 RPM needle. It's a ceramic cartridge, and it used to come on the BSR deck that I used to own when I was a young teenager. So this is known as the Westminster. You can see it written there. There's a metal logo, and it has these rather old-fashioned knobs. It has an on-off knob here, and presumably a volume control, and this one here must be the tone control. Now I'll call that the deck for want of a better expression. So the deck here was mounted with 4 screws, one there, one there, one there, one under the tone arm. And I've taken those out. They were just screwed straight into the wood. There was no cup, which I think is a bit of a shame. I'll probably put a brass cup or something back when I screw them back. That will look a lot nicer. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention was it's not an earthed device. You've got 2 wires that go to a sort of standard old-fashioned 2-prong plug, and this one was fitted into this adapter, which is designed to screw into a light fixture. That could be a lamp or it could be a pendant hanging from the ceiling. It's rather odd, but that's the way that that came. So I'm going to take this out. Oh, the wire just comes unceremoniously at the back here. There's no hole for it. There's nothing organised to take up the tension of the wire. It just squeezes itself right between the case and the deck. So this should come out. I've already taken the screws out. And I'll flip it over. I'll do that. Right. I was quite surprised when I saw this. It's very simple the way this has been organised. So the motor assembly here is separate from the rest of the unit, so that can be removed and serviced. You've got a nice Celestion elliptical speaker here. 2 original Mullards. There's an EL84 and there's another one here, so I'll just pull this out. It's a UY85. I assume that that's the preamp tube. This is the power amp tube. There's a capacitor of sorts here, sort of small can capacitor, electrolytic. And there's a couple of things here. So this is your on-off switch and volume. This is your tone control. There's some kind of capacitor here. There's something, sort of wax capacitor here. There's one down here and one resistor here. There's not a lot. It's an old carbon resistor by the looks of it. There's not a lot to this. It's as simple can be. And this is your wire coming from your ceramic cartridge. And this transformer here, there's only one transformer. It's got 2 wires going to the speaker, which makes it an output transformer. It also has 2 wires going to the tubes. So the rest of it, this all comes out in one piece. And the rest of it is just a suitcase. So made in the simplest way. It's just a sort of stiffened cardboard suitcase that's been sewn with some heavy duty machine around the bottom, presumably the same thing here. They covered this with paper. They haven't finished this part, and then they've just riveted 4 brackets which hold the deck. The deck just rests on those. There's a few holes drilled at the back for some ventilation. And that's it. It's as simple can be. They've actually dispensed with all the need to create any joinery or any kind of wooden cabinet by mounting the speaker to the underside of the deck. Everything is sort of contained on the deck itself. So it cuts down on a great deal of expense and simplicity. And it was probably quite novel in its day. It looked very much like a small suitcase. And was probably quite a surprise when people opened it up and saw that it was a record player. Anyway, that's the overview. I'm going to try to repair it, test it, see what's wrong with it. It will probably need 2 new needles at a minimum. Some of the capacitors will have to be changed. But there's not a lot to this particular piece of equipment, so I'm going to get it running again and we'll see what it sounds like.